You see the headlines, right? A big company announces its earnings, huge profits, maybe massive losses. But how do you know if you can actually believe any of those numbers? Well, behind all that news is a critical document that most people just skip right over, and it's the key to everything. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the auditor's report.
So let's just start with the most basic problem. A company tells the world how awesome it's doing. But think about it. They have every single reason to paint the best picture possible, don't they? So how do we, on the outside, get a truly objective, unbiased look at what's going on?
And that is where the auditor comes in. See, you've got two different players here. On one side, you've got the company's management. Their job is to prepare the financial statements and say, hey, look how great we did. But on the other side, you have this independent auditor, whose only job is to come in, check their work, and give a professional opinion. It's the difference between you grading your own test and having the professor do it.
The way we solve this whole trust problem is with something that's basically a universal answer sheet. It's a standardized report, and it's designed so that anyone, whether you're a massive Wall Street investor or just someone curious, can use it to understand what's really happening with a company's money.
Honestly, the absolute best way to think about an auditor's report is as a financial report card. That's it. The company has done its homework for the year, and now an independent inspector, that's the auditor, comes in to check everything over and issue a final grade for the whole world to see. Now, you might notice that all these reports look, well, kind of the same. And that's not laziness, that's by design. This rigid, uniform structure isn't a bug, it's a feature. Because it's so predictable, it makes it incredibly easy for anyone to read and understand. And more importantly, it makes it super obvious when something out of the ordinary pops up.
All right, so let's take a quick tour through this report card. I know it can look a little intimidating with all the formal language, but once you know the main sections to look for, you'll see it's actually a pretty straightforward document.
We can really just break it down into 5 simple steps. We'll start with the basics, the title, then we'll figure out who's responsible for what. After that, we'll see what work the auditor actually did. Step 4 is the big one, the final verdict, and we'll finish up by checking the all-important signature and date. First up, the title. Look for the word independent. That single word is everything. It's your first signal that what you're reading is not a marketing brochure from the company. It's an analysis from an outside party that has to follow a very strict code of ethics.
Next, that intro paragraph draws a really clear line in the sand. It spells out the division of labor. Management's job, prepare the numbers. The auditor's job, express an opinion on those numbers. That separation is the foundation that this whole system is built on.
Then you get to the scope paragraph. This is where the auditor explains what they actually did. See, an audit isn't a hunt for every single missing penny. The goal is to get what's called reasonable assurance that the numbers are free from material misstatement, which is just a fancy way of saying errors big enough that they might actually change an investor's decision. It's all about scale. For a little startup, a $50,000 error might be a huge deal. For a giant like Amazon, we're talking hundreds of millions. So, you've got the title, the responsibilities, the scope of the work. All of that is really just the setup. It's all leading up to the single most important part of the entire document. This is the moment of truth.
And that is the opinion paragraph. This is it. This is the climax, the final verdict, the whole reason the report was written in the first place. This is the bottom line.
And what you're hoping to see here is what's called an unqualified opinion. Now I know, the name is a little weird, unqualified sounds kind of bad, but in the world of accounting, it's the best thing you can get. It means the auditor has no reservations, no qualifications. It's a clean bill of health. The auditor is basically saying, yep, in our professional opinion, these numbers give a true and fair view of what's going on. That is the gold standard. So, we've broken down the report and we've gotten to that final verdict. But let's take a step back. What actually gives that verdict its power? Why is this one document so incredibly important?
To put it simply, the auditor's report is what makes our financial world go round. It's the official machine for creating trust. Without it, investors, banks, partners, nobody would have a reliable way to check a company's claims. This report is the bedrock of financial accountability.
And that accountability gets locked in with the final little details at the end. The date is critical. An auditor will only sign this thing after the company's management has officially signed off on the financials. And then you have the auditor's signature itself. That's the firm putting its name and reputation on the line, taking full responsibility for the opinion they just gave. But let's remember that key phrase we talked about, reasonable assurance. An audit is not a 100% ironclad guarantee that everything is perfect down to the last cent. And that leaves us with a really important final question to think about. What does that distinction between reasonable assurance and an absolute guarantee really mean for someone putting their hard-earned money on the line?